everyone. Welcome to an article reading. Just one of my random Sunday type deals. I woke up late this morning. I had a bit of a rough night last night. I wasn't on Lords of the Night because of migraine and such. So here I am, rock me like a hurricane, and I thought I would try to wake my brain up a bit with an article. Truth be told, I read this article ahead of time, which is why I wanted to share it with you, because there's some interesting points and not so interesting points that I thought I'd share. But before I get into that, hello to those of you who are joining me on this wonderful Sunday morning. Matt Barnes, Corey Suzuki, Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, Mike R., Virur of Ashmedai, Joel McLaughlin, Kiever Dam, Johnny Hellcat, and Mike R. again. How goes it? Better than last night. Definitely true. I feel better than last night. A little groggy, but like I say, I am here, and I want to get my brain started for the Sunday morning. I might be doing something else later on today. We'll see. Green Death, hello. Non-Vitae Rex, Super R99, Crimson Tiger, Leo Prime 75, Frank Hubbard the Fourth. All right, so what do we have today? Well, I saw this on CNN, and the title alone was something that I had to pay attention to. The story I had to share after Kyle Rittenhouse posted his $2 million bail. Opinion by Elizabeth Liba? Not sure. Thank you, Officer Buck. Good morning. Good morning, Officer Buck. Appreciate it. Elizabeth Liba, I'll say, a co-host for the Ed Up Experience podcast, is a publisher-writer who wrote for the Sun Sentinel newspaper and served as the editor of the Seminole Tribune newspaper. She is an English professor at Broward College. An English professor? Well, I had my share of those in college. All right, let's get into this. Innocent until proven guilty is a phrase we can all recite without even thinking about. It's as synonymous with America as liberty and justice for all, or land of the free and home of the brave. But scrolling through social media recently, I felt a pang of sadness at just how hollow those statements ring for Black people in America. Posts heralded as a triumph Kyle Rittenhouse's release on bail. Rittenhouse is the teenager accused of shooting dead 2 men and injuring another at a Black Lives Matter protest march in Kenosha, Wisconsin, held after the police shooting of Jacob Blake in August. The 17-year-old faces 2 felony charges of homicide and 1 misdemeanor charge for possessing a dangerous weapon while under 18. He is free after posting his $2 million bail with the help of donations, according to his lawyer in a tweet, including from celebrities like former Silver Spoons child star Ricky Schroeder and Mike Lindell, CEO of My Pillow Incorporated and vocal Donald Trump supporter. Rittenhouse's attorney said that there is evidence that the teen acted in self-defense. Just as a side note, the majority of my knowledge of the Kyle Rittenhouse case in detail comes from 2 sources, so you can judge me on that. Aside from the news in general, the breakdown of the video footage by Satsu 2 Cents, and as well as the breakdown of the video footage and the police reports and such breakdown by Matt Christensen, both on YouTube. So if you're curious about where I'm kind of sitting on it, and that is prior to the trial, I don't have any sort of one way or the other, but everything I've seen so far heavily suggests that he was acting in self-defense. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time arguing the merits one way or the other of the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, because that's not the point of this article, but that's kind of where I'm at based on what I have seen and have had presented to me. Time will tell what the outcome of that trial is, but that's where I'm at. Let's see. Ryan says, what trickery is this? Scribelight is streaming and it's not LOTN or TEDx. Who are you and what did you do with the real scribe? Well, I might actually be Dogcat Fox using a voice changer. Isn't that right, Dogcat Fox? Wowie, wow, wow. The world may never know. Back to the article. The thought that enough people, after hearing details of the shooting, could see Rittenhouse, who is white, as innocent or justified enough in his actions to supply $2 million to get him released made me think back to an experience I had in 1993. The moments that led up to my arrest as a 19-year-old sophomore at the University of Florida, where I was on a full academic scholarship. Okay, so here's where we get into the meat of the story, as it were. I had entered an Eckerd drugstore in Gainesville early on a Sunday morning to drop off film. Yes, to drop off film to develop pictures for my camera. Remember those days? We had to drop off film. Some of you probably don't remember those days. Oh well. My roommate was sleeping, so I quietly slipped into a hoodie, jean shorts, and sneakers and left the dorm room carrying my JanSport book bag with my rolls of film inside. Very detailed. That book bag would be at the center of my arrest, and ultimately why I felt compelled to post about my encounter on LinkedIn recently. Seeing Bernice King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., tweet her disbelief over the supportive treatment Rittenhouse was getting and comparing it to Khalif Browder's 3 years in Rikers Island, 2 years of which were spent in solitary confinement for allegedly stealing a book bag, triggered memories of my own encounter. I'm not quite sure how those two things line up with one another, but okay. Batteries inside my book bag had caused the theft detector to beep as I exited Eckert's that Sunday morning. Why didn't they cause the detector to beep when you entered? That was my first thought when I read this. I was like, if it beeped when you exited, why didn't it beep when you entered? Now, I mean, maybe just the sensitivity of the material. I don't know, but moving on. The clerk called me back to ask if I'd purchased anything. I rifled through my book bag and found a 4-pack of AA batteries I had purchased days earlier. I frantically attempted to resolve the misunderstanding. He asked if I had a receipt for them. I knew I did somewhere among my folder, papers, and other receipts. I continued to rifle. I was even more frantic. My heart pounded as I scanned the contents of my bag. I knew the receipt was there. Minutes later, I was in a brightly lit office at the back of the store. The manager, an older white woman, because that's important, slid an immaculate sheet of white paper with tiny black text printed on it across her brown desk. Now, I see, I don't know why. Well, I can guess why, but it's interesting. Our English teachers being very minutely specific about things. Just, I could assume motives, and I do, because I'm a human being. But anyway, I would need to sign it, she said. The small font blurred together as I held it in shaking hands. I asked her to explain. I didn't understand. What was it? An admission of guilt and a trespass warning. If I couldn't produce the receipt for the batteries immediately, I would need to sign it right then and there, she said. That I wasn't guilty and I didn't steal the batteries. So that would be a lie. I couldn't do that. No. As a journalism major with hopes of attending law school, my next line of defense to her became logic and reasoning. I attended the university. I was a student on scholarship. I came into the store all the time to shop. I had the receipt if they could give me just a minute to... Let me try that again. I had the receipt if they could just give me a moment to look. I just needed to think for a minute. I know I kept it. I keep all receipts. I had been taught at a young age to never leave a store without ensuring I had a receipt for the items I had purchased. One of the many lessons Black children grow up having to learn. I always kept my receipts. Just in case you were approached by a security guard, you always wanted to have proof of purchase. Could they look at the security footage? I had walked straight to the photo department without stopping to even browse. I wasn't a thief. Thank you, Matt Barnes. I fail to see how a young man defending himself from 3 white people with criminal records being released on bail equates with this person's tale. Oh, just wait. Just wait. Hold on. It's not so much the weight of the offense committed. It's the process. But just hold on. Trust me, you'll love this. None of those arguments swayed her. She dialed 911 and 2 police officers arrived within minutes. Sitting in the backseat of a police car, the strangest thoughts went through my head. Handcuffs are heavier than they look on TV. If someone isn't deemed a threat, their hands are cuffed in the front. There are no door handles on the inside of the back seat of a police car, and the windows are tinted so you can see out, but no one can see your shame as you sit inside. I've seen plenty of police cars that you can see what's going on because the cops need to keep an eye on you to make sure you're not doing something goofy in there. I guess it depends on the police car. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Guess who can finally walk again after being crippled for 4 days straight? Ranting Monkey. No, you? Well, congratulations. What did I miss something? I must have missed something. Kyle, what did you do to yourself, or what was done to you? If I heard this story and I've forgotten it, I apologize, but I am glad that you are doing well, because that sucks. Wow. Okay. Chat Mort, hello. It's Chat Mort, everybody. Say hi to Chat Mort, because she'll probably get embarrassed and probably blush as a result, which is always a pleasant thought. Let's see. I stared down at my cuffed wrists, hands in my lap, as the officers stood outside filling out the arrest report and chatting casually. They laughed at some inside joke. I was numb. This seemed like a dream. And I would carry that shame and disbelief for a while. The shame that people would think I was a thief. The shame that I had been arrested. The reality that I was seen as guilty before proven innocent. Now, I know she said that same sentiment at the beginning of the article, but I want you to dwell on that notion for a moment. The reality that I was seen as guilty before proven innocent. Okay. My mother picked me up from jail, making the 5-hour drive from South Florida after posting my bond there. I was booked and placed in a holding cell for 4 hours, and then I was allowed to wait in the lobby until she came to get me. When I got into her car in the jail parking lot, I rifled through the book bag again. Where was that receipt? I had to find it. I found it there neatly folded inside a bright red folder. I cried hysterically. It was there. It was there all along. Okay, now, for the sake of, just as another side note, for the sake of this article, I'm going to stipulate to all of the events that she has presented. I don't know how accurate this story is. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, as is the theme of this entire article, that what she is saying all happened over a pack of AA batteries. Okay, just so anybody else listening can know where I'm coming from here. We decided to talk to a lawyer about what could be done to get some semblance of justice. He was baffled. He had never seen a case where police were even called for a $2.49 item and suggested I pursue a lawsuit to ensure the store would never do it again. I wouldn't get much, he cautioned, but it wasn't about the money. It was about getting them to admit what they had done was wrong. I don't know. Thank you. This is Kyle again. I hurt my back horribly to where I couldn't walk or even sit in a chair for the past couple of days. Couldn't even record videos. It hurt so bad. Jeez, dude. Well, I'm glad you're moving around again. Just keep resting up. Those things take a while as far as my armchair medical knowledge goes. But thank you so much, and try to relax. Just enjoy the day as much as you can. Let's see. Where did I leave off? But it wasn't about the money. It was about getting them to admit what they had done was wrong. It was about getting them to admit that the trauma I had experienced and the effect on the rest of my life was wrong. Let me try that again. It was about getting them to admit that the trauma I had experienced and the effect on the rest of my life was wrong. Or the effect it had on the rest of it would have, something like that. English professor. Anyway, and the jury in the civil case ultimately agreed. But it would take 3 years for the case to go to trial and finally reach that settlement. Eckerd's refused to accept responsibility for what they did and fought it every step of the way. Eckerd's attorney at trial argued that the pharmacy had probable cause for their actions because the manager had checked the anti-theft equipment that day and the employees had no reason to believe it was malfunctioning. My lawyer produced a copy of the receipt for the state's attorney's office and the criminal charges had been dropped immediately. Okay, so again, system worked. I still find it ridiculous. Again, I'm benefit of the doubt this all happened. Ridiculous, yes, that she was placed under arrest for $2.49 of batteries. They just did take back the batteries and issue a complaint or something, or go through the entirety of her backpack at that time. Some of these things just sound a little off, but again, I'm benefit of the doubt. As these memories flood my mind, I can't help but ask, how is it that the employees in that pharmacy couldn't give me the benefit of the doubt over a $2.49 package of batteries, but Rittenhouse, who has been charged with killing 2 people, can be extended this courtesy? Okay. This is the meat of why I wanted to read this. I'm going to read that little paragraph again. Okay. As these memories flood my mind, I can't help but ask, How is it that the employees in that pharmacy couldn't give me the benefit of the doubt over a $2.49 package of batteries, but Rittenhouse, who has been charged with killing 2 people, can be extended this courtesy? I will finish up the article and then continue. To be clear, I understand that this campaign to raise money for Rittenhouse was orchestrated specifically by people on the political right. And yes, the incidents happen in different times and places. I know that people are free to donate to whatever cause they want. But we live in a country where Black people routinely see themselves being treated unfairly compared to their white counterparts. It's a problem that we can't and shouldn't ignore. And it's a problem that instantly causes Black people to collectively ask anytime the Kyle Rittenhouses of the world come across our screens, quote, I wonder how this situation would have played out if he were Black, unquote. Okay, now I think it's fairly obvious, the sort of cognitive dissonance that I see here. But just in case, well, first, thank you, Johnny Hellcat. A company going to go through a 3-year legal case over $2.49. There's not an X big enough. Again, for the sake of the art, the actual details of her story are actually irrelevant to the meat of the article. The meat of the article comes down to that one paragraph there. And so, yeah, there's a lot about her story that just seems a bit beyond the beyond. It's not impossible, obviously. It just seems a bit beyond the beyond. But the point is that one paragraph, and I'll read it just one more time, at the risk of being a broken record. As these memories flood my mind, I can't help but ask, how is it that the employees in that pharmacy couldn't give me the benefit of the doubt over a $2.49 package of batteries, but Rittenhouse, who has been charged with killing 2 people, can be extended this courtesy? Okay, again, accepting that her story is true. Why wouldn't you want Rittenhouse extended that courtesy? You are asking, after the fact, that people had given you the benefit of the doubt, that you had been seen as innocent until proven guilty. And yet somehow you're complaining that Rittenhouse, who is decidedly sitting under far more serious charges than you were, is being provided that courtesy, quote unquote. Why have you already convicted him? The same rules apply here. You were accused of something that you knew you did not do, and there was evidence you knew you possessed or that you knew existed to prove your innocence. Kyle Rittenhouse has been accused of things that he and many of his supporters say he is not guilty of based on the evidence available. And until he goes to trial, why shouldn't he be extended the same benefit of the doubt that you believe you were deserving of at the time that you were arrested? Which I believe you were. You were deserving of the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of things about that story that if you had the receipt literally at the bottom of your backpack, that the police arriving at no point decided to search your backpack to make sure that you had what you said you had, because that would have cleared it up instantly. What about the security footage at the store? That part didn't get resolved either. But anyway, the questions about her story, I can't help but ask, but they are irrelevant. This is the problem right now. This is the problem we saw with the hearing on Justice Kavanaugh and so many other things. The immediacy to jump to the conclusion of guilt. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not innocent of this, speaking of innocent and guilt. When I see a story where all the information provided me tends to show that someone did something wrong, especially if there's video evidence and onward, I can't help but immediately judge or start judging. But it all depends on context. Like the Jussie Smollett case, right? When we heard that, and it's on recording somewhere in the distant past of Lords of the Night, the very first night that was reported, we sat there on the show going over the details of the story, and our immediate question marks went up in our minds. Like, what? This doesn't sound right. Like the details of the story just didn't sound right. And of course, at that time, we had only the details coming to us from the news media. But in this case, we have a lot more than just the details coming from word of mouth. We have video evidence, we have the police reports, the whole raft of information at this point on the Kyle Rittenhouse case. But regardless, even if you didn't have any of that information, even if you only had kid shot two people, killed two people at a protest, he claims self-defense. How is that in proportion any different than you're sitting in that back room of the drugstore saying you have the receipt in your backpack? I mean, it's the exact same thing. You're being accused of something you know you did not do. You're being held to account for something you did not do without any further interrogation or evidence or anything else, and that's unfair. Okay? I'm right there with you. I've been accused of things I haven't done before, and it's a terrible place to be. It's not something I would wish on my worst enemy. I would rather my worst enemy be held to account for the things they actually do, not for things that they haven't, because that's not fair. It wasn't fair to you. Why is it fair to Kyle Rittenhouse? Now, the fact that our author doesn't seem to understand the inherent contradiction in this very paragraph between her experience and Kyle Rittenhouse, despite the enormity of distance between the charges that she faced versus what he does, is fascinating to me. To be Mr. Spock for a moment, it is fascinating to me. But apparently, it's a hoop she's willing to jump through in order to vilify Rittenhouse in the absence of a trial, to apparently demonize white people just because they're white, but never also asked the question that she asked at the bottom here. I wonder how this situation would have played out if he were black. Well, what do you think the situation would have played out as if you had been white in that drugstore? Do you think you would have been treated differently? And if you think so, given the stringent reaction by the pharmacy and the police in that instance, you really think so? You think they would have given you a pass if you were white? You think Kyle Rittenhouse would be, I don't know, treated differently right now if he was black? I think he would have been treated differently if he was black. Under the current zeitgeist, if he'd been a black teenager and killed two white guys at a protest, I think the benefit of the doubt would be immediately given by our author. I think the benefit of the doubt over the possibility this person was defending themselves would be immediately given by our author. Now, I could be wrong. It's entirely possible. But she posed the question, so I have to return it in kind. The benefit of the doubt should be provided to everyone. Doesn't matter what your skin color is. You know, even if there is video evidence, physical evidence, on and on and on, everyone is due their day in court, so to speak, either figuratively or literally. You know, it is the worst thing in the world to be accused of and held to account for something you did not do. I know that. I've experienced that. And obviously, depending on the accuracy of the story, regardless, our speaker has as well. How it is seemingly impossible for her to extend or to project her experience onto another person under accusations like that and not see how this article completely vetoes her own complaint, I don't know. But there you are. Okay, I think I've done that routine to death now. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, I'll take a couple minutes and then I'll wrap this up. I don't know if I'm doing anything else today. We'll see what inspiration sparks in me, if so, but we'll see. Keeverdam, what if he was a black conservative who shot two white liberals? I still suspect he might have been demonized. Possibly so. Let's see. Humble Clay, skin color should never be a valid argument. Should never be, yeah. But unfortunately, here we are. Excuse me. Knife Ears the Big Elf. Proof enough to me NPCs are used in the simulation. Okay. Maybe that's out of context. Thank you, Matt Barnes. I know I'm casting aspersions, but Black Kyle Rittenhouse would have been ridding us of evil white supremes per the author. I I don't know. We cannot know. But it's one of those things where I wish I could have one foot in an alternate reality for a moment to see our speaker's reaction to the exact same scenario. Nothing else changes except the skin color of the perpetrator. That's it. And just see. But not only for her reaction, but for the rest of the world's reaction, law enforcement, and so on. You know, we can't know these things. We can speculate all day. But and she does as well, obviously. Mike R. Scribble, is this chick really confusing posting bail with being exonerated? I don't know. I don't know if it seems like it. It seems like she's, again, let me just say, it seems like, I can only assume because I don't know. It seems like she's upset that he's being given any support at all, that he should be immediately damned and jailed forever for what he did in the absence of a trial. That anyone believing that he acted in self-defense is somehow, I don't know, ethically flawed in some way. That seems to be it. And it's only being done because he's white, by the way. So everybody that's supporting him is a racist, I guess. Again, I'm just extending out the rhetoric here, but yeah. Let's see. Zach Osborne, Scribe, are you shopping for Boog shirts? I have no control over what ads show up on these things. If that's informing me of something, I don't know. I haven't gone online to shop for clothing in years. So, I mean, outside of maybe like thermal socks or something. So I don't know. Humble Clay, Scribely, just now got a notification for your stream and I've been watching for a good 10 minutes. Well, as we said before, and we'll certainly say again, this is why it is far more efficient to follow us all on Twitter. We're usually posting about our streams ahead of time there, and we're certainly more efficient in letting you guys know when we're going to be doing something than YouTube is. So by all means, subscribe, hit the bell on the YouTube form, make sure you get your notifications, whatever checkbox you have to click, all that fun stuff if you want to get notifications. But you're going to get a much more quick response and alert if you're following us on Twitter or the other social media. Some of my compatriots use other things like Discord and so on. I don't use Discord. I know people are mad at me for that for some reason. I don't know. It's just one more thing to keep track of. But anyway, guys, that is all I wanted to do right now. Just saw this article, thought it was a bit interesting. Mental mind maze, and thought I'd share. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tomorrow night, Monday night, on Satsu 2 Cents' channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Lords of the Night, where we'll talk about the news of the day, news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. I may do something else later today. Not sure yet. Keep an eye on my Twitter for that. That's in the description. And otherwise, guys, I hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, and I'm looking at you, Kyle, please get well soon. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.